Styles P was correct in his comments towards Billie Eilish when he said who is Billie Eilish? Why the do we care what she thinks? And she is this, and she is sort of right, but she don't get the culture, nor is she part of it. So why do we give a F? How or why is her opinion important to us? Welcome to the second episode of Sartistik Pod, and today we're going to be talking about Billie Eilish and her comments towards hip hop. Now, before I continue with this episode, I must put a disclaimer there to actually say that I have not actually seen the full interview, so to speak. I've seen it in passing in terms of it being retweeted onto my timeline, what she actually said. But in terms of me actually finding the full video to the whole interview to actually understand the context and to actually understand everything that she was talking about, I haven't been able to see that. Like many publications, I've posted their input on it, their take on it, but that's all I found. I don't know what's happened to the original video, whether it's been taken down by Billie Eilish itself or the management company. I have no idea, but I can't find it. So I'm gonna take a different approach. I'm gonna give a more objective approach to this whole discussion to try and get to the root of the reasons why she possibly made this comment, and where do we go from here. So in regards to the comment that she said, she basically said that hip hop is filled with liars and all they talk about is guns, like guns, AK-47, and then she basically said, I can see through you, you don't have a gun. And she also said, what, like people saying that they got 1 million women. I look at them and they don't have 1 million women. So that was kind of the headline around this situation. That was kind of what was thrown out there into the mainstream to kind of describe what she actually said. Now, just by going off that alone, we need to understand that this girl, that Billie Eilish, is just 18. She just turned 18. I believe it was last year. I don't know her birthday, so don't shoot me. But she has just turned 18, and she has just only released one body of work, like in terms of an album. She has basically got, she had released previous works like a live album as well as singles leading up to this. So she has done a lot to gain her fan base, and I guess the reason why people are really incensed about this is because she's actually in the mainstream, and she echoes the words of a lot of people that basically come into hip hop and basically take it, basically borrow from it, take from it. Just to name a few of the people that has done this, you need to look at Post Malone as well as Miley Cyrus, and look no further than that, to be honest. But what Billie Eilish is talking about is just further bringing eyes to what hip hop is already under the microscope for anyway. In the 90s, hip hop has always been labeled as misogynistic, bad for children, driven, heavily sex driven, etc. Like you see acts like the Two Live Crew who had such a hard time having their music played on airways. But before we even go any further, let's look at why she probably said this. Like I said, the fact that she's 18 years of age shows a lack of understanding within the culture. Now, I have watched different interviews of Billie Eilish, and the common thing that stuck out for is that she has looked into the history of the music that she tends to do or dabble in. And I remember in an interview for Entertainment Tonight, I believe she was asked about her inspirations, about the music that she listens to that inspires her music, and she basically was listing out the fact that she listens to hip hop, jazz, contemporary. She listens to the likes of Frank Sinatra. I believe Nas, like she also listened to Nas as well. She basically went on record to actually say that she listened to a lot of old stuff. So when you listen to that and then you bring it into today's context, you can kind of get the idea that the music that she was brought up in There's a big disconnect with that music and today. Especially when she mentioned Nas as the person that she listened to when she was younger in terms of the hip hop label. Nas and other hip hop artists back then were not necessarily known for just storytelling, if that makes sense. They were known for what they spoke about was their life. It was a reflection of their life. It wasn't necessarily what it is today in terms of your Kendricks, your Coles, who would have a commentary on what they saw. They may not necessarily have lived it, but they had a commentary on what they saw. Or in terms of J. Cole, who is basically or who is basically creating stories based on his fans or anything like that. Or in the case of Lupe Fiasco, who is one of the best lyricists in hip hop, he's definitely not in that kind of section, or as he had that kind of life, but he raps, he creates stories, abstract stories from that. This alone shows you how much hip hop has evolved, but it also shows you how she hasn't evolved with the art. That's why I agree with Styles P when she said that she's not in the culture, because as she evolved with the culture, she would have been able to understand that it is much about storytelling, as it is spilling your heart out on a track to show what your life has been about. Now, with that being said, the knock-on effects of this comment is, again, it shows how disposable hip hop is to the mainstream. It shows how low the barrier of entry is for anybody to just come and take from this culture. But I say that with a major caveat to it, which is hip hop does borrow a lot, right? Hip hop does borrow a lot from other genres. So it really becomes hard to gatekeep. I can see it becoming hard to gatekeep, but in the sense that it's evolved and actually started having its own sound, especially in the 90s, which was regarded as the hip hop's golden age. Like, the sounds on there were becoming original within themselves, within the genres that they evolved from. But even that, it doesn't change the foundation that it still did grow from a sample based genre in comparison to an originally created genre, which has always been the criticism that hip hop has always had from the mainstream. It's always been, it's basically unoriginal, whereas it's been debunked so many times that there's also creative geniuses that have sampled and has borrowed from other forms of composing, of musical composing. Nonetheless, that's not what I'm here to argue on. What I'm basically trying to argue is, with hip hop becoming so disposable, with hip hop becoming having such a low barrier of entry, it does leave just two questions. Should hip hop rebrand and start over again, or should it get tighter at gatekeeping? Now, I would prefer the latter to the former, in terms of it would be nice to actually have the industry, the artists within the industry, the producers, the songwriters, all those people, if they see these people that makes these negative comments towards the genre that they love and support from day one, then they stop working with them, despite what a contractual obligation may be, or despite what they have to do. They take that stand for the genre that they love. As unrealistic as that sound, as altruistic and good as that sound, to take a stand for something that you love, it is not as pragmatic as, because a lot of people go into a genre to make money. They want to make money from the music that they love to do. So it can be very hard to implement. It will give the signal that you shouldn't really berate on a genre without expecting some repercussions. And I say this because, and I'm going to use my Cyrus as an example. When she changed from country to hip hop, you didn't see her say any comments in regards to country, because she knows if she was to say something about country, it would have been an uproar within that community. She would not have been able to work with anybody within that community. But when she left, she made passing comments in regards to hip hop, saying it's very ratchet and it's not what she is, it's not who she is, it's not what she is about. And with her making these comments, she was still able to work with a lot of the hip hop producers, a lot of the hip hop acts that were around her. The point here I'm trying to make is where an artist feel like they can say whatever they want and then there's no consequence. In fact, not just an artist. This is just goes in general for people alone, where you can say whatever you want without there being any consequence. You're just gonna keep saying it, and it's just gonna repeat itself to the next artist, to the next artist. For example, Lil Yachty has still received a lot of success with his music, despite his comments on old school hip hop. And same as Lil Skies, I believe Lil Skies, I think his own downfall is down to his own lack of work ethic rather than the culture not accepting him. But regardless, they've still had success despite their comments in regards to the art form that they claim to love. Now, if one wants to make hip hop, if one wants to stop hip hop from being disposable, they have to make it indispensable. And making it indispensable does take a lot of work. It does take a lot of analysis, a lot of people coming, a lot of unity has to be had for that to happen. And like I said, people would have to solidly come together to say, not just the fans, because the fans are the ones that are showing the outrage. The fans are the ones that are really protective of the hip hop culture, not necessarily the artist. The artist still ends up working with these people regardless of their opinions on the culture, which is what I find to be complete asinine. But the latter, but the former, like I said earlier, in terms of hip hop going for a complete rebrand, I think that one is a lot more realistic, because if they were to go for a complete rebrand to a new sound that they want to create, it does pose a lot of benefits, such as they get to actually have differentiate themselves from what hip hop has become now, which is people don't take it seriously, and there's a lot more gatekeepership when it comes to it. Like there will be a lot more protective. There will be a lot more protective of the sound. It's kind of like the house model, the house music model, where house music is where a lot of the artists will not work with you if you say anything negative in regards to house music. This happened with, I believe it was Tiesto, who made comments in regards to tech. I believe it was Tech House. I believe it was Tech House that he made comments in regards to saying that he would never go anywhere. Nobody worked with him after that. No artist, no DJ from the tech house industry or the house industry actually worked with him. He had to go in and work with pop artists, and I believe electro. Was it tech house or electro house? I'm not too sure exactly the comments, exactly which genre he was attacking, but nonetheless, it was really felt, because after he made that, he lost a lot of fan support, and he really had to rely on the pop appeal of his future tracks to actually get him work or get him some form of traction. So I do think that is a model that hip hop should really continue taking, because I don't like it when you see people. I personally don't like it when you see people like this make these comments and they just get away with it. I as a DJ, I actually do not play Billie Eilish at all. I don't even have her in my library. Even though I know her songs will go off in a club, I still have a million more songs to play. So I do my form there, like in terms of actually ensuring that the people that come after my genre, not necessarily what they do in their personal life, just come after my genre, they don't get protected. They don't necessarily still have a voice to speak within my genre, because this is my genre. This is what I love. This is what I stand for. So on that front, let's see if I can keep the same energy if I actually get to meet these people. Thank you so much for checking out this episode. Make sure you like and subscribe, and let me know what your thoughts are on this whole situation. I know I am a bit late onto this topic because you know it's been a while. It's been a while since it's been out. I think it was out on this. I think the news broke on the 6th. But in terms of subjects like this, you kind of do want to let it blow over a little bit, gather your thoughts, and then see the effects of what is being talked about. Because rightly so, now she's talking about the Grammys and the people that love. Because now she's talking about the Oscars, and the people that love the Oscars or etc. are now making their their videos on that. It's not good because end of the day, you can miss a lot of stuff. But I really do think that it's an eye opener for the genre, and it's something that we need to look at, especially where do we go from here, like with hip hop, because does it need a rebrand? Does it need a whole change? Does it need gatekeeping? Well, that's for you to decide. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next episode.